Good morning, everyone. Thank you, panelists, for we couldn't have expected a more powerful panel to discuss something which I think is probably the key area to address as we talk about organizations at scale, technology, even governance today, right? So cybersecurity is at an intersection wherein technology, businesses, even geopolitics is today in a state of challenge, for lack of a better word, wherein it's not just about how we build, but it's about building trust in what we do. So I'm going to kickstart this panel with a set of questions that our team has put together. But before that, I would request each of the panelists to give opening remarks. So we can start with you, Bhanu. Maybe we start from the other corner.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Really happy to be here and part of this, I think, very timely and very interesting panel. And as rightly said, we are at the cusp of transforming our own processes and driving efficiencies through digitization. And I think cybersecurity in the current times has become extremely important and relevant for anyone and everyone. It's always probably been felt that, this is restricted to one part of the organization. I think it's a collective responsibility for everyone. And the way AI is, kind of being adopted in organizations, AI is further transforming the entire cybersecurity landscape from both lenses, providing lower entry of barrier to attackers to be able to target critical infra. And at the same side, from an organizational perspective, how do you ensure that as you scale the adoption of AI within your organization, you remain secure and and you kind of scale in a secure and safe manner?
Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you so much for this lovely panel. I think I will talk about two sentences. One is securing data is not an option anymore, because we have been seeing there is a data theft, there is a data leak. All the AI news every day that's coming. So it's a security imperative and it's a boardroom discussion. So that's about my take on the opening remarks.
Hello. Hi. This is Shankar Jayaraman. Good afternoon, everyone. So, like all of them said, right? So, cybersecurity is not an afterthought anymore, right? With AI becoming more and more, use of daily use, right? It is going to be a point of discussion it's a boardroom discussion, and it is everyone's responsibility. And it is not an option anymore. It is going to be a default going forward.
Thank you. Very good morning. Very happy to be part of this panel. My name is Hitesh Garg. I come from, I would say, a bit of a different world. That means very connected to cybersecurity, but I come from the chip business. So the tagline of my company a few years back was called Secure Connections for a Smarter World. So security was one of our key feature of all the products that we were kind of coming up with. We started with the legacy of NXP come from Philips. So we invented near field communication maybe 25 years back. My apologies. So we invented near field communication technology 25 years back. For, I would say, till 15 years back, there was no takers of this technology. But now we see this used for our secure transactions. And I think, so security, as I said, is our backbone. So we take care, how do we build security in our chips, in all kind of chip, be it microprocessor, microcontrollers. At the same time, I think we know with the technological advancements, we are having quantum computer coming up. All of your codes, all your password can be broken in few seconds once we have the quantum computer. So we are also working on standards for post-quantum cryptography. So I think we are at the root of the security, and I'm very happy to be part of this panel to share my thoughts.
Hi, everyone. Very glad to be here. My name is Ashish. I represent Rubrik. I 100% agree with what my fellow panelists have said here, and very glad to be part of this panel. I think I'll say what we as a company believe in. In cybersecurity is, to us, our thought process is it needs to be defined as cyber resilience. We believe that we cannot prevent the unpreventable. The cyber attacks are unpreventable. So prevention is not the answer. You need to have the ability to bounce back from an attack. You need to be resilient as a business. In the event of an attack, how quickly can you come back? So, so that's the premise on which, and that's what we have understood after speaking to a lot of customers, and that has been the thesis of our product, and that's been the thesis of our entire cybersecurity journey. We are, by the way, a 12-year-old company, just went public, and very happy to be proud of this, this company for the last 9 years, and very happy to be here discussing cybersecurity today.
So, Ashish, I'm going to stay with you. Prince, can you ensure that this door is locked for good? Yeah, thanks. So, Ashish, I'm going to stay with you. So, when you speak about resilience, how do you build resilient architecture across cloud, across data? How do you build in a real sense? Give us a sense how we are building or going about building it. I'm going to stay with Hitesh also on the same question. So, Hitesh, you can add on. Yeah.
Sure. No, I think that's one of the hardest challenges. I'm head of engineering, so from the engineering side, I think it's a very difficult engineering challenge. The reason is that the real estate is so diverse. The surface area encompasses not just your on-prem footprint, your cloud, or your SaaS data, or where you might be, but also your identity systems. Right? So your Active Directories, your Entra IDs, or whatever have you, the footprint is so wide that there is typically been separate tools for this. There has been, a separate protector for your Active Directory, a separate protector for your cloud. If you go to AWS will give you a protection for AWS. If you go to Jira, Salesforce, they'll give you a different protector for that SaaS. And if you're with VMware or any other Oracle database, they have a separate protection system for that. So it is the fragmentation, which is a very, very big problem. And this is the fragmentation that cyber attackers actually use. And they're getting obviously smarter. And, you see Mythos, really upping the game, where what is going to happen is this: they're going to discover like all the gaps between all these fragments. And what is needed is actually that there is, and this is what our focus has been, that you need to have an architecture that spans this entire real estate, is able to help you connect the dots. So that is one part of that zero trust architecture. The other is zero trust itself, that you need to have, you need to move away from the older world architectures which were inherently full trust, right? So, I'll give you an example. Again, it's a little bit technical, but I'll still go into it. There is, for example, backup software and backup storage has been two separate industries. So you buy storage from a different vendor and you buy backup software from a different vendor. But between them to interoperate, it's an open protocol, like typically NFS. And NFS is insecure. So that's a very, very easy path for an attacker to come in through the open protocol and attack. Right? So what you need to do is to actually plug all these holes. And that's what we've been focused on. For example, we don't have this open protocol at all architecturally. So and then you need to connect the dots. If your identity system got hacked, what part of your data seems to have, some encryption that's already starting? Where do you see some ransomware signatures landing? How do you see what has been the anatomy of an attack already? It is unpreventable. It is going to come in. But once it has come in, how well do you figure out, how quickly can you figure out, like, what has been the blast radius? Has sensitive data been attacked? Has there been, which point should I go back to? Because ransomware might come back if I were to, try to restore. So how do I make sense of this attack? How do I cover this entire surface area? And how do I leave no holes with a true zero trust architecture. These are very, very hard, very, very hard challenges, and these has been our areas of focus. I hope I answered what you were looking for.
So Hitesh, you want to add on something which Ashish has elaborated on?
No, I think I'll on the similar lines, right? So how do we make sure that at least, because I come from the chip background, right? So the ICs that we make and the kind of attacks, right? Not now, but maybe 20 years back, what people used to see, because we have the address bus and the data bus. They know, okay, this is how the data bus should look like. They even go and kind of micro probe into those data bus. They said, okay, we have read the data bus. So even people were going to that level kind of a thing. Now we have protection mechanism, that technology had advanced. We have 2 nanometer, 3 nanometer technology, very advanced chips. So we don't have those kind of things, but still the basic protection has to be there inside our chips. Second thing is on the security, even at a boot code level, or so how do we make sure that the system is kind of booting up in a secure manner, and all like at various levels. So whenever there is an intrusion, we should even detect at a chip level that, okay, there is some activity which is not right, and we have those mechanisms built at the root level to make sure that nothing happens, be it a microcontroller, microprocessor, even an AI processor. So we have to work with a certain structure so that it's portable across devices, across technology, across companies. So I think that's where the standardization is helping. That's how we, of course, software guys are doing their own work. And yesterday I happened to be, I'm coming from Ahmedabad, so I was in Adani. And there they even have set up a full center, 18,000 square feet center on awareness on cybersecurity. And their focus is, okay, we know IT is one thing, but what is OT, operational technology? How do I take care of them? And they have 18,000, they have put the factories, and they see, okay, how a process plant, I have a thermal power plant. My conveyor belt is taking, you can say, a coal. Somebody hacks over that conveyor belt, right? So how do, even on the operational side, there are bigger challenges, right? So once you connect any system, any microcontroller, processor, AI chip, edge AI chip, it's vulnerable. How you partition your system, how you see, okay, these things are locally on the local data center, how you have that level of partnership, and being aware that what, and as you rightly said, right, how do one attacks will happen, they will always happen, how we recover quickly out of those, right?
Fair point. So, Bhanu, I'm going to bring you in and speak about how are these cyber threats evolving, and what is the stronger, so how are you seeing the stronger governance or real-time visibility of these threats, like Ashish and Hitesh has said, whether it's restoring it or whether it's predicting it?
Right. See, first of all,
Maybe Shankar takes it first. Go ahead, Shankar. No problem. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. Go ahead, Shankar. We'll bring Bhanu later. Go ahead, please. You started. Yeah.
yeah. So, first of all, I'll just continue with what my colleague has spoken, right? So, so it is like a health, right? I mean, so you reduce the risk and also prepare for the worst, right? I think both are equally important, right? So it doesn't mean that, you just ignore the health and then wait for the heart attack to happen, and then, you go to the right doctor and, look for insurance and so on. So I think both are important, both the risk reduction and, like you said, prevention is not no one guarantees prevention, right? No security company says that I'm 100% guaranteed on, if you buy me software or application, you are 100% guaranteed on breaches, right? So unpredictables happens, but that doesn't mean that you ignore it. You try to reduce the risk as much as possible and also prepare for the worst.
Bhanu, you want to take the governance and the real-time visibility? Give us a sense on that. We're working with a lot of governments, I understand.
So yeah, I think from a policy governance perspective, if you were to talk about the changing landscape of technology and cybersecurity in particular, I think it's a known fact for everyone that policy seldom keeps pace with the way technology is leapfrogging, and same is the case as you take in cybersecurity. So from a lens as we look at it, I think government has to while the government of India has over the last couple of years really been into consultative policy making, I think similar has to be in terms of cybersecurity policy making as well. Because what is happening is that the technology and the threats are evolving so fast that without the government industry collaboration in terms of understanding what's the best way to maybe have technology or product neutral policies which are future proof, I think that is alone that is kind of going to help India be cyber resilient. So from that perspective, I think a little bit more collaboration from a industry government perspective around, I think, cybersecurity policy making. Then the second part around cybersecurity, I think definitely is that you need to take a risk based approach. You need to have a approach where you quantify the risk and then accordingly put in the required security control. So that's again something from a governance perspective. I think both central government, state government, and enterprises need to look at when they look at their own cybersecurity policy strategy, roadmap, and maybe in the same thing, as you look at future proofing your own cyber posture, you need to also look at threats which are already pretty eminent, but kind of will again have a low barrier as we see AI now, is the post quantum cryptography, discussion. Right now, a lot of organizations probably feel that, hey, this is something still some time away. There are various, roadmaps around migration, around, development and all of that stuff going to 2030 and whatever. But I think what's important is that you need to undertake very, very measured and, maybe very, very planned initiatives right from now on to be able to maybe accomplish some of those requirements. Government of India recently came out with a national quantum readiness roadmap, which was released by the National Quantum Mission, formulated under the Department of Science and Technology by the Government of India. I think it's a great report for those who've not had an opportunity to go through it. I think you must go through it and you must realize the fact that, hey, this is something which we all need to really kind of start thinking about within our organizations as we move forward. The next step, around from a policy governance perspective, I feel is the fact that our own structures are currently more focused towards, I would say, reactive defense. And we need to get into an active defense kind of a mindset wherein we have the ability to have complete visibility across our network through various sensors, have the ability to receive the data from these multiple sources of the sensors which are deployed, and then maybe apply the power of AI and ML on all of this normalized telemetry data to be able to predict threats in real time. Because unless and until we change this mindset, I think it's going to be very difficult to counter the speed and the complexity of the threats which AI is enabling attackers to kind of maybe use to target some of the organizations and critical infrastructure. So I think building that up within your organizations from a perspective of having the required sensors deployed, the ability to have data lakes and apply AI ML on that, and then this is being talked about by a lot of folks here, is the fact that you need to have a unified approach. You can't work in fragments or silos. So you need to move towards a platformization approach, I think, which Palo Alto Networks, from our perspective, I think we've been the pioneers in that, and we've really been kind of talking about this very, very vocally at all forums, because we feel that's the only way where you can have visibility across your entire network. Someone spoke about the fact that you have very complex attack surface. You have cloud, you have SaaS, you have on-prem, you have endpoints, you have AI agents now. How do you have a unified picture of all of this? I think this is only possible when you go all in, through a unified approach, through a manner where you have complete visibility on all of your assets ecosystem, so that then you can maybe look at proactively stopping some of these threats as they begin to threaten your organizations. So I'll pause.
Sure. Yeah, Bhanu. Yeah. So, yeah, I'm coming to you. This is Sudiptaa. I have another question, but you first make your point, right?
I think because we work very closely with the government and Department of Science and Technology, we are part of the National Quantum Mission Task Force. And it's really commendable for government that they have already started working with the industries, because we have shaped up the policies in the last 10 years. And if you see Defense 2047 vision, the draft that came a few months back, you will find that government has already laid out what are the kind of security measures that they should be taking. And it clearly talks about the timeline. If you focus on US, UK, China, their global standards, India is already ahead. We are talking about sometime between 27 to 29, whereas there are, discussion, even we want to be even aggressively talking about if you have to be ready by 2029. There are researches, there are Google's Willow chips, there is Measure, there was a Quantware, that's a supercomputing, the processor that came December 12 last year. They are all talking about that your current encryption that are used by today, the RSA, the ECC, all of those traditional security, they are not made for this kind of quantum and the AI era. That era has already ended. Now, what we should do, we should be proactive enough and identify the technology that the attackers are using. We should use the same technology to defend ourselves. So don't use fast technology, but use the tomorrow's, which is already available right now. And we are already working with government. A lot of implementation has happened. We have taken the things also globally. We are working with few of the global partners. Some of our partners on AWS. Our products are available on GEM. So it's not true that government is not taking the right action. Government is inviting those deep tech, the quantum, because if you see the Intune has these 4 pillars, right? Every pillars government has already given a very good support in terms of policy, in terms of kind of innovation that India can do. So India is one of the top 3 countries today when it comes to coming up with their own innovation, coming up and working with the government, doing the design, doing the implementation, doing the support. And if you read about QNU Labs, we have last year achieved 500 kilometer quantum safe network, which has been done for India's critical infrastructure. March 2026, we have done 1,000 kilometer quantum safe network for India's critical infrastructure. And we also have the software portfolio, which I will talk later. So I am just trying to say that government is very, very active. We are part of DST. We are part of the NQM task force. We are shaping the policy, all good for India and also for the world. Thank you so much.
So, Ashish, you spoke about zero trust. So, give us a sense with AI specific threats that we have, what kind of an engineering innovation that we are looking at to sort of go next level on that?
So, as my panelists have actually said, there are fundamentally 2 threats with AI. One is what we heard that, is the sort of it's been in the news with, I'll quote Mythos, that attackers are getting better with the use of AI to be able to find vulnerabilities in all the parts and including your hardware, but it's very, very quick for them to find vulnerabilities in the software part and then find holes and get in, right? So again, what is needed there is something that the platform approach that you spoke about, and what is needed is that ability to connect the dots, your ability to understand, for example, Active Directory or identity systems are the typical points of attack, right? So, and they will get in and then, spread by hacking your identities, right? They will get your user credentials right away. So how does, an organization actually figure out like which part, how do they stay on top of which part of, this, again, this is unpreventable. So you have to be able to, respond very, very quickly in the event of an attack. And again, what is needed there is, again, our focus is that there is a cyber RTO. What is not important is how quickly you take the backup. What is important is how quickly you are able to recover and get the business back on track, right? So So it again, like to what you mentioned, ma'am, we have to use AI in defense. So what we are, for example, focused on is that there is AI built into our software, which actually detects the patterns across all the real estate, all the surface area, and helps you get ahead of the attacker and stop it in its tracks. So once it has come in, how do you figure out like what is the blast radius? So that is one side. The other threat is actually internal, and enterprises are actually deploying AI agents. And if you only do real read-only kind of AI agents, it's not going to change the game for you. The real game changer is when you actually allow agents to take actions. When they take actions, your risk actually increases 100-fold. Why? Because that agent can do 10x more damage in 1/10 of the time. So once that happens, you are left blindsided from the inside. Somebody, it could be like well-meaning code, but it has gone rogue. That is still a very charitable situation. But a less charitable situation could be that somebody has actually code injected into your agents or prompt injection, and all kinds of attacks are there with agents. And these agents have gone rogue, deleted all your data, and sometimes they say sorry, right? After doing real damage. But then how do you stay on top of what agents are actually doing? Organizations, we just actually had a report, 82% of Indian enterprises, this is our own research, we have a research arm, which says 82% of Indian enterprises actually have, acknowledged that the AI, they anticipate AI agents to be ahead of their cybersecurity defenses. 82%. 26% are only 26% of the organizations actually know how many agents they actually have. Even just the number is only clear because they are empowering their teams, they're asking teams to write agents, but those agents, anything could be happening. It's a bit free for all, so I'll maybe take a pause and allow others.
Because I genuinely feel the session should be more of a keynote. Each one of you have so much a wealth of information to share, but the threats are real, right, Hitesh? So give us a very quick, because we are running out of time. So give us a sense on the device side, how we can really have trust in the AI world.
No, I think I'll move into automotive world, right? So I think we have been seeing, because of the cyber security, we might lose our data, our money if people are getting into our financial systems, but there is also a threat to the life. If you are running in a car which is running at 100, 200 kilometers per hour and a hacker takes over your car, so how do we protect ourselves? So I think one of the thing, the basics remains the same, the fundamental remains the same. One, we have to think in terms of system at all level. And system partitioning, when we are kind of software defined vehicles, or we are, and AI also, not only I would say at the cloud, but AI is coming at the edge. So my car which is running, I think they don't have time to go to the cloud to take some decisions. So we are bringing AI on the edge. And when AI is coming, we need to have the right system partitioning, right? Your powertrain should be completely immune, should be in a different domain, which is inaccessible, right? And that has to be, or how do we at least create those connections? So we are building the system architecture for software-defined vehicle where we have the right domains, the partitioning, where the decisions are taken, and how do we have those guardrails? So I think one is a device level security at every level, that okay, the boot and everything is means loaded from fully trusted ones. The partitioning at the system level, so that nobody is coming even system is a car is a system, right? If you talk about robots, right, or data centers, so everything is a system. How you partition your core out of these cyber attacks. Third, as we rightly said, how do we recover? And fourth is bringing the technology or advancing the technology. Post quantum cryptography is what is the trend, and as I said, we are defining standards for that. Government is working. Last week I was in ISR Pune. Fantastic work happening, especially on the quantum computing there. So also, I think those knowing, staying ahead of the game with the right partitioning, having trust at every level.
Fair, fair, Hitesh. I'm sorry I'm rushing because these guys are giving me cues. So, Shankar, I'm going to bring you at an operator level, as head of security, you're also co-founder, how do you balance between best in class with, the financial burden it kind of puts on an organization? So give me a 30-second kind of breakup on that.
Yeah, thanks for asking this question. So, see, first of all, I think, security is for everyone, as we all know, because threats are not designed for certain set of people. Yeah, most of the threats are. Some threats are targeted threats, right? And I mean, in fact, most of you, everyone knows about GPTs, right? So we, on the surface net, we have about 4 or 5 GPTs, which are more popular. But in the dark net, you can see at least 10 equivalent GPTs, which are much more cheaper, rogue GPTs, which are available. And it is so easy for, bad actors to use that to generate threats, right? So it has become so common, and it is for everyone, right? And the security is not for only 10% of business class people, right? It is for everyone, all the economy class people also, the companies, right? It is for everyone, right? So everyone need to land safer, right? So, first of all, I think the security products, the foundations need to be strong. More than buying more and more tools, just adding tools after tools after tools, it is only going to get tool fatigue, right? It's just going to buy more tools. You don't know how to use it. You have not configured enough, right? So instead, focus on how to get the foundations right. Most of the threats or risk you can reduce at getting the foundations right, getting the CI/CD pipeline right, getting the security bolted on much early in the cycle rather than, doing it later in the cycle, right? Many things that you can solve. And look for the tools which are more simple to use. You don't need a CISO to sit next to you to configure the tools and make use of it. Also, look for tools which are more outcome-based tool, right? So don't buy the tools which are, I have so many features, right? So instead, look for a tool where, okay, so I'm part of GRC founder. So look for tools like, compliance achieved, risk reduced, just more outcome-based tool, which will be much more meaningful and much easier for you to manage.
I have very limited time left. I have got a whole bunch of questions, but any particular question, I already am seeing a few hands. So can we have lights on the audience and maybe introduce yourself very quickly, ask the question and address the panelists, please.
My name is Nitin. I'm an advisory partner with a leadership search firm. I have a question for...
You have to be clearer. Yeah.
Yeah, hi. My name is Nitin. I'm a leadership advisory partner with a leadership search firm. Okay. Thank you. I have a question for Mr. Bhanu. I think you spoke about policy. So the question is that now the DPDP Act is already out. The laws are in place, the notification is out and all this stuff. Do you think from a policy standpoint, the government is trying to work backwards, to say that from DPDP, try not necessarily to regulate AI, but as much try to moderate and then work backwards to the infrastructure layers and cybersecurity? Because at the policy level. So it's an open-ended question. I would love to answer in any way you see fit. Thanks.
No, it's not really. Firstly, thanks for the question. It's a great question. I think from a policy perspective, you need to understand that it's not working backwards. From a perspective of doing that and then maybe addressing AI. The India's Digital Data Protection Act has been in the works, for some time now. It almost took 7 years of journey for it to actually get enacted in Parliament in 2023. Even after the enactment, the rules came out in November last year, and there's an implementation timeline for the rules till for 18 months, which effectively is taking it to May of 27. And I think it's a very much needed regulation in India, given the fact that personal data and digital personal data is being collected by any and everyone. All organizations are collecting it, and it can have a huge impact on the privacy of citizens. So from that perspective, I definitely feel that this is long needed, and it's definitely something which will help improve the security and privacy of the Indian citizens. To your question on AI, I think the government of India has taken a lot of measures in terms of ensuring that AI is not misused, whether it is for deepfake, misinformation, or for impersonation. There are a lot of amendments which have happened to the existing IT Act, IT rules, by way of which these issues are being addressed. Similarly, there is an issue around intellectual property rights when it comes to AI. That is also something which the government of India, the Competition Commission of India, and all the other responsible ministries are addressing. So, as I said at the beginning as well, technology is so fast moving that it's very difficult for the policy to keep pace. And policy making is something which is definitely a very complex process, requires a lot of consultation, interaction with a lot of stakeholders. So it's time consuming. But what I want to put forth here is that definitely the government of India, even the state governments, are very closely looking at the various IT policies, the various cybersecurity policies, or the AI policies now, because I think this is something which has become, it has to be done. So I think it's something which needs to be done. It's the need of the hour, and I think that's something which is being addressed.
Great. I know there's a lot of questions. Punita, can we take one question at least? I mean, I know our times are up. Just one last question. The gentleman who's standing, please. Thanks.
Hello, this is Hallikiri, Director of Architect Solutions. This question to Hitesh sir. Sir, we are working on cybersecurity assessment for a couple of ECUs for in-vehicle network. So my question to you is it mandatory for cybersecurity analysis has to be performed for all the ECUs, or vehicle level cybersecurity is enough?
You understand that question?
Not fully.
Yeah. See, currently what we are working on cybersecurity analysis for one of the ECU, for one of the vehicle, for rear mirror window, rear mirror. So multiple ECU will be there in vehicle network, right, in the car. So my question is this cybersecurity has to be done for vehicle level or every ECU level analysis?
No, I think the answer is at both, at device level, as you are saying. So ECU is an engine control or whatever control unit that you have. So of course it has to be taken care at that level, and also vehicle level. Vehicle level is more on the architecture side. How do we do the partitioning of the whole, you can say, system, and so that we are not creating vulnerabilities into the critical part of the system. At the same time, I think every device has to be secured, as I mentioned, right from the root level, that there is no intrusion possibilities. But we can take it offline. But yes, at every.
Yeah, I'll discuss with you, sir. Okay.
Great.
Thank
So,
you, sir.
that's all the time we have. I genuinely feel we are very short of time with the knowledge that's sitting on the panel. So a great round of applause for all the distinguished guests. And my final word is that, there's a lot being done, like Bhanu and Sudiptaa has said, and, at the private institutions level also. And still the threat remains to be a bit worried about. So with this, I conclude the panel. Thank you, panelists, for your inputs. And please be available offline if you can for some questions. Thank you.